Yep. Hello everybody, welcome. What I thought I'm going to do right now, hi, welcome, is I'm going to raw glaze these simple bud vases and just talk about it as I go. As I suggested, these sgraffito cuts in here, you just want to go over them to make sure there aren't any little bits of jagged bits of clay that are going to cause the glaze to not stick properly. What is that? Some insect in there. Yeah. So just carefully with a toothbrush, just going over this, you see, like this. Cleaning the surface. Use your fingernail if necessary, if the bristles of this doesn't clean it properly. So, yes, so I've got myself organised here. I've got some glaze in the bucket there, which is my milky white glaze, which I've added a couple of % of bentonite to. The reason I've done that is because it helps it to the shrinkage rates. What can happen is when you're raw glazing, you see, if you're using a glaze, putting it on a pot, what can happen is the pot, the different shrinkage rates can cause a problem of the glaze lifting, you see. So rather than trying to work out completely new glazes, I thought, well look, why don't I just start with the glazes I've already got, see if they work. And I have tried doing the raw glazing on pieces that are not dry, and then putting the glaze over and then watching the glaze flake off. So what I do now is I let them dry, I dry them out first. This whole subject of raw glazing and once firing there's not much literature out there really. There's the two books that I could find are this one by Dennis Parks, which is interesting and useful, and does give some recipes here for raw glaze once fire. The other book, of course, is the Self-Reliant Potter, of which I've got quite a few copies here if anybody's interested, that give quite a good amount of information about that. I mean, raw glazing was one of Andrew Holden's, you know, he firmly believed in that. So I've got an example here of a piece where I just want to try and show this to you, because when it came out of the kiln I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and I just want to highlight, I don't know if you can see here where my finger is there, it looks like it's cracked, but it's got like fissures here. Now I thought that was because the glaze was crawling, but I've come to a different conclusion, and that is that when you raw glaze, because what I did with this was I double dipped it. So when you double dip, you see, you're wetting both sides of the wall of the pot, aren't you, at the same time? What that does in turn, if you can imagine between my hands here is the wall of the pot. So I've dipped it now I've double dipped it in the glaze, so it's wet on both sides with the wall of the pot in between and air trapped in that inside there. What happens is that air lifts the clay and vents itself. And that's what we're seeing here, is the lifting of the clay and letting the air out. So basically what I've got to do, this is completely what I've worked out in my head, and yeah, if anybody's got any ideas on the subject, please share them so we can all learn. So what I'm going to do with these little bud vases, what we're going to do is just glaze them on the inside first, okay? So bring this over a little closer, camera, so you can see this, because I want you to learn how to do this, you see, because it's maybe I should put the camera something like that. In fact, I'll put this light on. Yeah, that's a bit better. So, okay, so there we go. Make sure this is nicely stirred up. Of course, once you've done that, you want the first thing you want to do is just check the thickness. I've got a feeling I'm going to just add a wee bit of water to that. You see, if you're dipping a pot that has got moisture already in the clay body, when you dip it in the glaze, it's going to take on a thinner layer than the same pot if it was completely bone dry and then you dipped it in the glaze. It would take on a thicker layer, you see, because it's more absorbent. Something to think about anyway, isn't it? Okay, so what we're going to do is, let me just, don't want to be too close, do we? Yeah. Right. Always when glazing, get yourself organised, have some sponges, a little container of water. Alright, so what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to glaze them on the inside and then wipe off on the rim, because later when they've dried off a bit I'm going to then dip the outside. I don't want them to take then a double thickness right on the lip here, so that's why I've got the sponges here and why we're going to use these, you'll see, just to wipe around. What you'll see me doing, or let me do it and then we'll talk about it, shall we? Get on with it, Leach. Too much talking. Oh, we need some talking. Okay, winding up my wrist. Let's just pour some of that in there like that. Not too much. Yeah, spilled a bit there. Okay, and now pour it out like that. Okay. Now there, just wiping that quickly like that. Don't wiping it too much, because these have got red iron oxide slip and I don't want to wipe the slip off, you see. Then what I'm going to do is put that on the banding wheel and I'm going to just spray the outside with water. Why am I doing that? The reason I'm doing that is because I'm adding a liquid into the inside of the pot and the outside is remaining dry. That pot is going to want to expand, isn't it? It's going to want to expand because I put the wet glaze on the inside. So I'm wetting the outside with a spray bottle to compensate, all right? To equal it out a bit. Otherwise you could get a situation where you're putting the glaze in and then you're suddenly seeing it crack because it's absorbing, but the outside is rigid and hard and not allowing it to expand. So that's why I'm doing it like that. Okay. Pour in, swirl it around, and then pour it out like that. Just wipe that over there like that a little bit. Just show that to you, what I've done. So I've just taken it down, you see, over the lip on the inside there to remove that, because when I dip it next time on the outside, it'll cover that. Okay? It may be that it's not really as necessary as I think to do that little spray, but I'm feeling my way, you see. I don't really... I'm not 100% confident. So trying to... Okay, so there, that's how it looks now. And I'm just going to take that sponge and just wipe it around like that, just to thin that layer. You haven't got to make it look pretty, it's just a case of removing some of the glaze on the top there, you see. Pour in. That. See that there? Now take your sponge and just, before it dries, you see. See, that's all you need to do at this stage. Oh, I'm supposed to do that as spray, aren't I? Yeah, I don't know if it's really necessary to spray like that, but I have read somewhere, probably in one of those two books, that is, I guess it was there. It's a little bit, you see, it takes a little bit extra time, doesn't it, to do this part of it. Because normally I would do these all in one, you see, all in one go. Well, I'd pour in and then I'd dip them immediately. I'd dip them immediately on the outside in the bucket, you see, bucket of glaze. Spray, just a few more here. You see, it's these mechanics, it's the simple mechanics of how to do something that sometimes, when it comes to glazing, people get daunted, you see, by... They get overfaced by, and many people are frightened of making a mistake. Well, I understand that. Nobody wants to make a mistake, but I mean, it's actually making mistakes is part of a learning process, isn't it? All right. So just thin that glaze on the top there. Little spray of water. Deep, deep. Yeah. Last one. So by doing this, I'm hoping that I'm going to avoid that. See, by glazing one side first. So what's happened now? What's actually happening? Well, I put the glaze on the inside, haven't I? Only. So that's left the outside open, as it were. So the air, because when you put a piece of pottery, whether it's fired or whether it's raw, if you apply a glaze to it, there's air that's trapped in that clay wall, in the wall of the pot. So as that glaze and the liquid and the water is absorbed into the wall of the pot, it pushes the air out the other side. So what's happening at this present time is that the glaze I put on in there, the pot's absorbed the water, and the air is coming out through here, you see. So we've given it plenty of place to escape, and just going to give it a bit. That's my theory. Maybe I'm wrong. We will see. What I'm going to do now with these is let them dry considerably. Okay, and then we're going to come back and we're going to dip these just on the outside. And then the reverse is going to happen, isn't it? The air that's in the wall of the pot will go into the inside of the pot and out and escape. And hopefully, you see, hopefully we're going to avoid these kind of where the clay is lifted. Clay is actually lifted there. I've got other examples of these. One just on the side here where there's clearly like a flap of clay that has lifted to let air out. Interesting, isn't it? See how that all happens. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, folks. Hope it's been helpful to you. Have a go, have a go, have a go. What I was going to do was give you the recipe for this glaze. And here it is, my dad's recipe. I've given you this before. PB clear, flint 4 pounds, kaolin 2 pounds 12 ounces, feldspar, and I'm using Custer feldspar, 3 pounds 14 ounces, whiting 1 pound 14 ounces, talc 1 pound 2 ounces, and there's 2 ounces of bentonite in there. You'll find with the bentonite, dry mix it all first in a 5-gallon bucket. Thoroughly dry mix it, then and then probably actually the best thing to do would be, but I didn't do this in this case. I just then added the water into it. Sometimes it's better to adding powder, dry powder to water rather than having dry powder in a bucket and then pouring water into it. There's something it helps to, it kind of gets assimilated and mixed in better like that. And when you've got something like bentonite, the bentonite, it tends to sort of congeal, so it's very slippery stuff, and when it gets water it gets all kind of you'll see anyway if you do it and you put it through a sieve, you'll see what I mean. Exactly. Anyway, it all goes through the sieve fine. Just got to persevere, push it through. I do it on the wheel, you know, I put it on the wheel with the wheel going around with the imagine that bucket is on my potter's wheel and going around slowly, you see. You just put your screen over there, pour the glaze into here with it going around, and then I just hold these two guys like this and this until what I put in here has gone through the sieve. You'll find it goes through pretty quickly. With this going around for you, you see on the wheel, yeah, it does go through pretty quickly. So have a go at doing that. This is a recipe for cone 10, okay? If you're a cone 6 person, this is not going to be suitable for you. It's for cone 10 in reduction. Cone 10 in reduction. Yep. Hey, thanks for watching. Go to my website, simonleachpottery.com. Write to me. I do get around to writing back to people. Not always immediately. Depends what I feel like. But, you know, yeah, I tend to always... I've got a system where when a new email comes in, I put a red star next to it if it needs a response. And then once I've responded, I make it go green, you know. Do you do that? So yeah, workshops. I'm teaching a workshop here this weekend. We have 1 or 2 spaces. Short notice, I know. But it's on my website, and other workshops into October. 2 in October and 1 in November. And then that's it for this year. I may be going down to Florida at the end of November. That workshop I was going to do the other week got cancelled because of the hurricane, and it's been put back till the end of November. Maybe you're somewhere down in Florida. Maybe I could come on from that place and come and see you wherever you are and teach a workshop in your neck of the woods. Hey, thanks for watching, as I said, and keep practicing. And I'll see you soon.